Good morning, class. We are back. It's a new week, and today we will continue on with our lectures. We will first try to finish The Ambassador by Henry James, and then after which we will move on to the next unit, which is um, Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. So we will continue on from where we left off in the previous class. We will be starting book ninth, which is a continuation of book eight. So in book ninth, we see that the conversation Strather has with Madame Divinet, with Maria Gostri and Mamie Pocock is the focus of the book. Strather um, talked to these people. They are like sounding boards for Strather in that they merely listen to him and he pours out his feelings, his thoughts to these people. And this book also shows that Strather still misunderstands the relationship between Madame Divinet and Chad. He thinks that um, they have a virtuous relationship, that there is no um, hanky-panky or any kind of sexual relationship between the two. Even after he still believes this, even after Madame Divinet hints that um, Jean, that is her daughter, and daughter has gotten engaged, and that was arranged by Chad as as a stepfather figure. And so even after Madame Divinet has told him that, Strather still thinks that um, Chad is really interested in Jean, and that the relationship between Madame Divinet and uh, Chad is a virtuous one. And the interaction between Mammy and Strather emphasized the generational and gender rifts inherent in Woollet. That is, Mammy is, you remember, Sarah Pocock's daughter, and she has also come with her parents to Paris. And um, even though Strather and Mammy Pocock move in the same social circles, they haven't had many interactions, and this shows the kind of strict social conduct that is practiced in Woollet, and that there are there are no close bonds or you know um, close relationships, even between people moving in the same circles. And so this shows the generational gap and the gender gap between the male and the female, or between the older and the younger people in Woollet. Whereas in the case of Chad and Jean, that is, Jean is, remember, the daughter of Madame Divinet. Chad and Jean have a very intimate and close bond. They um, they can share and talk and love very intimately, which is absent in the relationship between Strather and Mammy Pocock. And also in this book, we see that Strather thinks of himself as a sunken boat. He knows that his position as the ambassador is already gone. He knows that his life is the most of his life is already passed him by, and he thinks that Madame Divinet are on that same boat and that they're sinking together. And when Strather complains to Miss Gostry that he has so much to judge, he does not have to, because he is no longer an ambassador. So he's still somehow under the illusion that he is still important as the ambassadorial figure. But but in reality, he no longer is. And as a man having been deprived of adventure, he wants to see if he can survive the fall. He he knows that he's a sunken boat. He knows that his position as ambassador is already gone, that he has no importance whatsoever anymore. Uh, but he doesn't react. He remains passive. He doesn't do anything about it. which shows that have, having spent most of his life in Woolwich, where he doesn't enjoy his life at all, where he's stuck in the rigidity and the same customs and traditions of Woolwich. And when he goes out to Paris, he sees that he enjoys himself so much, that he's living his life so much. And so this adventure of him going to Paris makes him realize that this is the first time he's living his life, actually living it and enjoying himself. And so he wants to see that if he has the strength to stay afloat, or if he has the strength to let himself sink. And it looks like he does. Let us move on to book 10. In book 10, we see that Shredder finds a family, a community in Paris that he feels like he actually belongs to the Parisian society. He thinks of Wilhelm as the adult son that he never had. Remember, we have already said that he lost his son at a very young age, and so um, he looks at little Wilhelm as his little son. He advises him, he pours out his innermost thoughts to Wilhelm, and mm, he grows very fond and very close to Wilhelm. And we also see in this book that Sarah Pocock is a foil to Shredder. Foil meaning the opposite, the counterpoint to Shredder. She is the complete opposite of Shredder. She embodies the close-mindedness of Woolwich. The rigidity and the stubbornness of Mrs. Newsom comes to life in Sarah. So even after she has arrived in Paris, Sarah Pocock refuses to see anyone for about a week, right? And she doesn't want to interact with anybody in Paris. She doesn't want to see the sights and enjoy the Parisian party life, or, um, doesn't even want to be very close to Shredder. And so we see that the close-mindedness of the people in Woolwich, that the people in Woolwich, a small town in the province in one of the provinces in the United States. So you can imagine the kind of people that would be living there with their strict and rigid social morals, with their social codes and norms, right? And so she still carries that with her even after she comes to Paris. And we have already said that Mrs. Newsom is a prominent figure in the book, even though she doesn't appear. She seems to be very stern, to be very rigid and stubborn, right? And that stubbornness and that rigidity of Mrs. Newsom is embodied by Sarah, and it comes to life through the actions of Sarah in the book. Um, we also see that Sarah and her mother, that is Mrs. Newsom, reject Shredder and Chad's perspective on every issue. And this shows the rejection of any potentially positive influence Europe may have had on Chad. So that is pretty self-explanatory. We don't need to expand too much on that. Sarah Pocock refuses to listen to Shredder. She refuses to accept anything that Shredder tells her. And so this shows that she is not um, open to a new perspective. She doesn't want to think of Paris having had a good influence on Chad. And so Shredder continues to maintain belief in the power of Europe to change people for the better. So this is a clash between Shredder's curiosity about Europe and Sarah's Puritan resolve. Shredder still thinks that he can convince Sarah Pocock that Paris is good for Chad, that he's living a good life here in Paris, but Sarah Pocock refuses to believe him. And so this shows that Shredder's curiosity about, a foreign land, his open-mindedness and his good heart is no match with Sarah's Puritan resolve. This can be understood if you look back at your histories. I don't know if you've studied American literature, but if you look back on your American literature, we see that America was there's a land of immigrants. When America was discovered, people from all over the world um, migrated to America. They came to America, and one of the first settlers, the first people who came to America were the English. So they came over from England during the Puritan times. Remember the Puritan age? So people from the Puritan age migrated to America, bringing with them the you know the stiff upper lip of the English people, which means that uh, they um, they are very rigid in their ideas of class, of society, of customs, of culture, of tradition, and they are not very open to change, these English people. And they've come all the way from England, escaping the religious persecution in England. And so they've settled in America. And so you can imagine um, the kind of values and the kind of customs these people would be um, be bringing with them. And even after they stayed in America, they still continued with these customs. And so it's no surprise that Sarah's Puritan resolve is as strong as Strether's curiosity about Europe. And we also see a very important point, plot development here in this book, that Strether rejects his opportunity to repair his position as an ambassador. Um, this comes about when Chad, Chad says that he would not go back to Bullitt if Strether doesn't try to convince him. So, which means that Chad says he would go back to Bullitt only if Strether convinces him. And Mrs. Newsom has also offered a token of forgiveness to Strether, but he rejects them all. He says he doesn't care about Mrs. Newsom anymore, about her money or about her prestige. He wants to remain true to himself. And what he feels in that moment is that he likes Paris. He likes living his life in Paris. He likes the Parisian society, the city of Paris itself, the company of people that he has. And so if he takes up his ambassadorial position again, then he would have to negate all that. He would have to pretend that Paris is not such a great place, and that Strether should actually move back to Woollet, and which he doesn't want Chad to do. He Instead he tries to force Paris onto Chad. He wants Chad not to move back to America, but to stay on Paris, because the his main intention is that he's afraid that Woollet um, would not be so much fun for Chad, that he would stop enjoying his life in Woollet because there's nothing much to do in Woollet. And so he's afraid that, life will pass him by. Chad's life will pass him by as much as Strether's life has already passed him by. And he doesn't want Chad to have that regret throughout his life. But Chad is no longer interested in living life in Paris. He wants to go back. He's thinking about his own interests, his own financial interests. And so by the end of this book, we see that Strether is ultimately alone. He doesn't have people who share his opinion. Even Wilhelm thinks that Woollet, he idolizes Woollet. Wilhelm idolizes Woollet in that Paris is not home for him. What is missing in Paris is the idea of home for Wilhelm. So Strether is the only person who is still enamored and who is still enticed by Paris. Let's move on to the next book. That is book 11. We see that Strider knows himself to be a changed man. And this we can find from his reflections of his life. He spends his time in solitude. He reflects on his life, of his coming to Paris, of the kind of society, the kind of um, exposure that he has gotten in Paris. And he's no longer even interested in the money that Mrs. Newsom represents. And it's not worth it to him, like we've said before. It's not worth it to him if he has to deny his own feelings and his own emotions. And we also this relationship between Mrs. Newsom and Strider shows that the idea of marriage, it is a contrast to the historical idea of marriage that we used to have. That historically it was believed that it was women who benefited most from marriages, especially in terms of finance. So, even till today, we say that, you know, gold diggers, girls are gold diggers, or anything like that. So we assume women to benefit more from marriage than men. But in the relationship between Strider and Mrs. Newsom, we can see that it is the man who will benefit from the marriage. And Strutter assesses his relationship between the relationship between Madame Divine and Chad. He goes on a trip and sees the pair. The truth about their relationship dawns on him. He still thinks, Strutter still thinks that the relationship between Madame Divine and Chad is a pure one, that they're just, very good friends, or they have a close relationship, but nothing, sexual, just platonic relationship. But while he's spending his time in solitude, he travels away from Paris for a while. He reflects on his life once again. He's at one with nature in that scene. He's he's confident about who he is as a person. He's interested um, in his own life. He's introspecting, but suddenly he sees Madame Divine in Chad, and not in a platonic way. They were not behaving platonically, even though they were not behaving very outrageously. But when he finds out the truth about their relationship, uh, he sees Madame Divine in a very different light. And with that, we move on to book 12. So this is the concluding book. The concluding book brings the idea of fate and strategy together. We see that even though Madame Divine does not want to lose Chad, does not want Chad to go back to America, there's nothing she can do. Even though Strider does not want Chad to go back to America, there's nothing he can do. And even though Ms. Gostry wants Strider to stay with her, there's nothing she can do. So there's nothing any of the characters can do. Ultimately, it's Mrs. Newsom and Sarah Pocock who win. So they submit to their fate. All of them submit to their fate, and especially Madame Divine and Strider and Maria Gostry, they all suffer from the ends of relationships without any future prospects for them. Madame Divine doesn't know what she will do. Likewise, Strider and Maria Gostry, they do not seem to have any future prospects, at least in terms of relationships. Strider finds out that he is in love with Mrs. Divine, but he finds her to be old when he learns of the true nature of their relationship with Chad. That we have already said. Strider sees Wilhelm's lying to him as proof of Wilhelm's goodness and honesty. Remember, we said that Wilhelm lied to Strider. Wilhelm says the relationship between Madame Divine and Chad is a virtuous relationship, that there's no, um, you know, no sexual relationship between the two, but he was lying, of course. His loyalty was to Chad, remember? And so even after Strether finds out that Wilhelm's been lying to him, Wilhelm's he looked at Wilhelm like a son. And even after he finds out that he's been lying to him, he still has a very good heart towards Wilhelm. He sees that it's proof of Wilhelm's goodness and of his honesty. And so he doesn't have any ill will towards anybody else. He just, he has this such a broad and open mind, and he's willing to assess every situation and see the good in it. Strether has no regrets by the end of the book. He has no regrets in abandoning his position as an ambassador because he realizes that he had to be true to himself, that he had to live his life to the fullest, and that he had to hold on to his values, um, and um, and he also had to, try to convince the other characters, especially Wilhelm and Chad, to live their life to the fullest, so that they would not have any regrets later on in life. And so, but even after so he does everything he can as best as he can to try and convince Chad and Wilhelm, but they would not listen to him. So he's done all he can. And so he leaves it at that. He has no regrets, and he leaves Paris. And Strether leaves Paris. He decides to leave Paris, and he uh, finds that he has gained nothing much in Paris, except he has gained a whole lot. He loses all the money that Mrs. Newsom offered him if he was successful in his ambassadorial mission, but he loses all that. But he gains very important values in his life, like open-mindedness, um, like curiosity about the world, living life to the fullest. So he grows so much as a person. His emotional and mental growth is the only thing that he gains by the end of the book. And so with that, we end um, the the analysis of the books. We will move on to the themes in the next lecture. Thank you.